Ethan Cade had never thought that a simple invitation could change his life. A human scientist specializing in interstellar cultures, he had spent most of his life studying alien worlds from the comfort of his research station on Earth. His work involved analyzing alien languages, observing their social behaviors, and sometimes even interpreting their art. Yet, until today, he had never been personally invited to visit another planet. It all began on a quiet morning in his small apartment, where sunlight filtered through the window blinds and cast long stripes across the room. Ethan was sipping his morning coffee, scanning through interstellar news feeds, when a peculiar envelope floated down from the ceiling delivery port. The envelope was not like the usual ones he received from the consortium. It shimmered faintly, reflecting a soft golden light, and it bore no stamp. Instead, elegant letters seemed to hover on the surface, forming words in a language that Ethan did not recognize at first glance. Curious, he touched it, and suddenly the letters rearranged themselves into readable English. You are cordially invited to witness a cultural celebration on Zithra 9. Your presence is requested in honor of interspecies unity. Arrival is recommended at 1300 Standard Time in the transit docking bay. Formal attire optional. Ethan blinked, unsure if he was dreaming. Zithra 9 was a planet he had read about, a distant world located in a sector scarcely explored by humans. Rumors of its unique civilizations had floated through scientific journals, but no human had ever been officially invited there. Most researchers were limited to observing from afar, through satellites or drone probes, and yet here he was, holding a personal invitation. Why me? Ethan muttered to himself. I'm just a researcher, not some ambassador or diplomat. Despite his hesitation, excitement bubbled up inside him. A trip to Zithra 9 would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not only to see an alien culture firsthand, but also to gather new data for his studies. He had spent years reading reports, watching holographic documentaries, and even learning fragments of Zithran language from dusty recordings. Now, the chance to witness it live was at his fingertips. He quickly made preparations. His research station had limited personal items, so he packed lightly: a few sets of clothing, his universal translator, notebooks, a camera, and his favorite pen. He glanced at the invitation once more. No hints about what kind of celebration awaited him. That only made it more thrilling. By the time Ethan arrived at the transit docking bay, the sun was high in the sky. The spaceport was buzzing with activity. Ships of various shapes and sizes hovered above, preparing for interstellar travel. Ethan approached the Zithran transport vessel, sleek and metallic, with glowing patterns etched across its hull. The patterns shifted subtly as he watched, forming geometric shapes that seemed almost alive. A panel beside the ship lit up, scanning his identification. Welcome, Ethan Cade, a melodic voice intoned. Your presence is anticipated. The doors slid open silently. Ethan stepped inside, feeling a sense of awe wash over him. The interior was unlike anything he had seen before. Smooth metallic walls reflected soft lights, and the air carried a faint, pleasant aroma that reminded him of spring rain on Earth. Seats arranged along the sides of the cabin were wide and comfortable, and holographic windows displayed stars streaking past as the ship lifted off. Ethan settled into a seat, taking a deep breath. He tried to calm the whirlwind of thoughts in his mind. What kind of celebration awaited him? Would he even understand their customs? Don't worry, a voice said, startling him. He looked around, but saw no one nearby. You are the honored guest. Again, the words were melodic and almost musical. Ethan realized the ship itself was speaking, responding to his presence. A gentle vibration in the floor beneath him seemed to reassure him, almost like the ship was alive. Hours passed as the ship traveled through the cosmos. Ethan watched countless stars and distant planets pass by the holographic windows. He tried to recall everything he knew about Zithera 9, the history of its civilizations, the structure of its society, the customs of its people. Most humans considered the Zitherans mysterious, even unpredictable. They were known for their vibrant colors, multiple limbs, and unique energy patterns that could communicate feelings. In some ways, they were almost magical, beyond human imagination. Finally, the ship began its descent. Ethan felt a gentle pull as it entered Zithera 9's atmosphere. The view outside was breathtaking. The planet's surface glowed with lush forests of iridescent trees, rivers of liquid light flowing like liquid glass, and mountains that shimmered in shades he had never seen. Tiny floating islands hovered above the ground, as if defying gravity. As the ship landed on a broad platform, Ethan noticed figures approaching in the distance. At first, they seemed like reflections of light, but as they drew closer, he could see they were Zitherans. Tall and graceful, their skin shimmered in soft colors, and their eyes glowed gently. Some had wings or translucent fins, and their movements were fluid, almost like a dance. "Welcome, Ethan Cade," a Zitheran said, bowing slightly. The voice was melodic, carrying tones that humans could barely reproduce. "You honor us with your presence." Ethan stepped out, trying to hide his nervousness. The moment his feet touched the ground, he felt a subtle vibration beneath him. The energy of the planet seemed alive, resonating with the Zitherans themselves. Everywhere he looked, beings of different shapes and colors moved gracefully toward him, offering small gifts, soft gestures, and smiles that radiated warmth. "This is amazing," Ethan whispered to himself. He felt like he had stepped into a dream. An elder approached, taller than the others, with glowing blue patterns across their arms. "You are the guest of honor," the elder said. "We are gathered to celebrate unity. You will witness traditions that few humans have seen before. Come, the ceremony awaits." Ethan followed, his mind racing. He tried to take in every detail, the architecture, the flowing lights, the sounds that felt like music even though he could not identify the instruments. Yet a small part of him wondered why he, a simple human, had been chosen. The elder led him through winding pathways that seemed to defy physics. Bridges floated above glowing rivers, and staircases twisted in impossible angles. Every surface shimmered and shifted as if alive. Finally, they reached a vast chamber where the ceremony was to take place. Ethan stopped at the entrance, stunned by the sight. Hundreds of Zitherans were gathered, forming intricate patterns around a central platform. Their forms reflected the lights above, creating a spectacle that dazzled the senses. Some held crystal objects that emitted soft tones, harmonizing with the voices of others. "You are expected to stand at the center," the elder said. "Your role is important. The ceremony cannot begin without you." Ethan's heart raced. He had assumed he was a guest, merely observing their culture, but now it seemed that he was to participate in some central role. He swallowed hard, trying to find the right words. I don't understand. I'm just a human researcher. I don't belong here." The elder's gaze was calm and unwavering. "You belong, Ethan Cade. The prophecy speaks of one who comes from the stars, a human, who will bring balance. Your presence is necessary." Ethan froze. Prophecy? Balance? He had read about Zitheran myths, but he had never thought one would involve him personally. The realization hit him slowly, and a mix of fear and curiosity stirred within him. Whatever this celebration was, it was no ordinary gathering. It was something far greater than he could have imagined. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. As he stepped toward the center, the crowd parted, creating a path lined with shimmering lights and floating symbols. Each step he took resonated with the energy of the planet, almost as if Zithera 9 itself was acknowledging him. At the platform, the elder placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Observe, learn, and respect. The ceremony will begin. Watch carefully, for it holds secrets not known to humans." Ethan nodded, swallowing his fear. He could feel his heart pounding, but beneath it all, a spark of excitement grew. He was about to witness something extraordinary, something that could change not only his life, but the relationship between humans and Zitherans forever. And at that moment, as the lights shimmered and the Zitherans' melodic voices filled the chamber, Ethan realized that this was not just a celebration. This was a turning point. A human had arrived at an alien wedding, and somehow he was at the very center of it. Ethan Cade stood at the center of the glowing platform, his heart racing. The chamber around him seemed endless, filled with hundreds of Zitherans, each more dazzling than the last. They moved in harmony, their bodies swaying lightly, their eyes reflecting the soft lights that danced across the walls. Ethan had expected a normal cultural celebration, maybe a demonstration of dances or rituals, but this was something far beyond his imagination. The elder who had guided him stepped forward, raising an arm toward the gathering crowd. "The ceremony begins," the elder announced. Their voice rang out like music, melodic yet commanding. Ethan felt the vibration of it in his chest. Suddenly, the Zitherans parted in a perfect circle around him. Each one carried an object that glowed with its own light, crystals, spheres, and delicate strands of energy that seemed alive. Ethan blinked, unsure of what to do. He raised his hands slightly, instinctively, hoping that his gesture would not offend anyone. One of the Zitherans, a tall figure with shimmering violet skin, approached him. "Step forward, honored guest," they said, voice calm but insistent. "It is your role to receive our vows." Ethan froze. "Vows? What do you mean?" he whispered, looking around. No one spoke a word in human language, yet somehow he understood. The universal translator in his hand had been active, translating their melodic tones into words he could comprehend. "You are the chosen," the elder said gently. "The vows are yours to accept." Ethan's stomach tightened. Chosen? Vows? He thought back to the invitation, the prophecy, and the words of the elder. He had assumed he was merely a guest, observing alien customs. But now, it seemed that he had a role far beyond anything he could have imagined. As if on cue, the Zitherans began to speak in unison. Their voices formed a harmonic melody, words flowing into one another in a rhythm that was almost hypnotic. Ethan felt the sound vibrating through his body, warming him, and stirring a strange sense of connection. "You are," their voices said together, and the translator gave him a clear understanding. "The groom to all who gather here." Ethan's jaw dropped. He stumbled back slightly, almost losing his balance on the glowing platform. "Groom. To all?" he whispered. His voice sounded small and weak against the harmony of hundreds of Zitherans. "Yes," the elder said, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "This ceremony unites clans. You are the center, the link that brings harmony." Ethan swallowed hard. He had never imagined being the center of a wedding, let alone one that involved hundreds of beings from an alien species. His mind raced, trying to find a way out. I'm human," he stammered. I don't understand your customs fully. How can I—" The elders shook their head, smiling. "Understanding comes through action, through respect, and through presence. Your willingness to stand here is already enough." Ethan felt his fear mixing with awe. These beings were not hostile. They were sincere, graceful, and powerful in their unity. Yet the idea of being a groom to all of them was overwhelming. As he tried to process, the ceremony continued. Each Zitharan approached him one by one, holding their glowing object close to his hands. Ethan noticed that the objects emitted gentle pulses of light, reacting to his touch. The moment his fingers brushed the crystal or energy strands, a sensation of warmth, calm, and understanding flowed into him. It was as if he could feel the thoughts and emotions of the Zitherans, not in words, but in energy. One by one they recited their vows. Ethan could not understand every word, but the translator and the energy pulses allowed him to grasp the meaning. Promises of respect, unity, loyalty, and peace. Each Zitheran pledged themselves to him, not in a possessive way, but in a way that connected their clans to one another, with him as the link. Ethan's mind reeled. How could a single human hold such importance? And yet, as he looked around at the glowing faces, the sincerity in their eyes, he felt a strange sense of responsibility settling over him. This was not about marriage in the human sense. It was about unity, harmony, and trust between species. A Zitheran with bright emerald skin floated closer, bowing slightly. Their multiple arms moved gracefully as they extended a delicate crystal toward Ethan. "Your touch completes the bond," they said softly. Ethan reached out, his hand trembling. The moment he touched the crystal, he felt a surge of energy. It was as if the Zitheran's emotions, hopes, and intentions flowed into him, not forcefully, but gently, like a stream merging with a river. The warmth spread through his chest and out to his limbs, grounding him. The chamber was silent for a heartbeat. Then, hundreds of Zitherans simultaneously extended their hands toward him, offering their bonds. Ethan realized he had no choice but to accept. He placed his hands lightly on the glowing objects, feeling a wave of energy connect him to every being in the chamber. A strange calm settled over him. Fear and confusion were still present, but they were tempered by awe and understanding. The Zitherans' intentions were pure. They sought connection, not dominance. And somehow, humanity had been chosen to embody that connection. The elder raised their arms, and the room pulsed with light. "The bonds are complete," they announced. "Let this ceremony be remembered as the day when species united through respect and trust. The human among us has shown courage, humility, and openness. This is the way of harmony." Ethan looked around, seeing the joy, respect, and gratitude in the Zitheran's eyes. They were not expecting him to be perfect, only present. And somehow, his human qualities, curiosity, empathy, and courage had allowed him to fulfill the role. Still, questions swirled in his mind. How did humans fit into this prophecy? Why him? And what would happen after the ceremony? But there was no time for answers yet. The rituals continued, each more intricate than the last. Zitherans began performing what Ethan would later describe as a bonding dance. Their multiple limbs moved in perfect coordination, weaving patterns in the air that glowed with soft energy. The patterns intertwined with the crystals Ethan had touched, forming a web of light that connected him to each Zitheran present. He could feel their emotions, hopes, and trust flowing into him, merging into a single sense of unity. Ethan realized that, in this moment, he was more than a human. He was a symbol of cooperation and understanding, a living bridge between species. The thought filled him with both pride and humility. Pride, because humanity had been chosen to play such a vital role. Humility, because he knew he had much to learn. Hours seemed to pass, though it was hard to tell with the soft glow of the chamber and the flowing energy of the Zitherans. Finally, the elder spoke again, their voice carrying across the room. "You have shown the essence of humanity. Your presence, courage, and respect have fulfilled the prophecy. The bonds will last, and your role will be remembered." Ethan nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. The energy around him pulsed softly, a gentle hum that resonated through his body. He felt connected to something far greater than himself, something that transcended species, language, and even time. As the ceremony drew to a close, the Zitherans formed lines on either side of the platform, their glowing objects casting a warm light over Ethan. Each one bowed slightly, a silent acknowledgement of the connection they had forged. Ethan realized that, though he had entered as a visitor, he was leaving as a central figure in a new chapter for interstellar relations. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder one last time. "Rest now," they said gently. "Your journey is only beginning. The unity you have helped create will guide not only Zithara 9, but also your world." Ethan felt a mix of relief and awe. He had survived the first part of a ceremony he barely understood, yet he also sensed that the most challenging part was yet to come. The part where he would fully realize the responsibility and importance of his role. As the Zitharans began to disperse, the chamber slowly emptied, leaving Ethan standing alone on the glowing platform. The energy that had flowed through him during the ceremony lingered, a warm reminder of the bonds he had formed. For the first time in his life, he felt truly connected, not only to an alien species, but to something bigger than himself, something that carried the promise of unity, understanding, and hope. And in that moment, Ethan understood one simple truth. Being human in the vast universe was not just about survival or curiosity. It was about connection, courage, and the willingness to step into the unknown, even when the unknown seemed impossible to understand. After the ceremony, Ethan Cade felt both exhausted and exhilarated. Standing in the middle of the glowing platform earlier had been overwhelming, but he had survived. And somehow, he had earned the respect of the Zitharans. The hum of energy that still lingered around him was a reminder of the bonds he now shared with hundreds of alien beings. Yet as he followed the elder through the winding pathways of the ceremonial hall, he began to notice something that made his chest tighten. The customs of Zithara 9 were far stranger than he had anticipated. They were not merely beautiful or graceful. They were challenging, confusing, and sometimes completely opposite to human logic. "Ethan," the elder said, voice melodic and calm, "you have done well in the ceremony. But now comes the next part. You must understand our ways fully if you are to honor the bonds you have formed." Ethan nodded, though inwardly he felt a wave of worry. He had survived the first test, but now it seemed the real challenge had begun. They entered a room that appeared to float above the ground, its floor a translucent material that glimmered like liquid glass. Small pools of energy hovered around the edges, pulsing softly in response to their movements. A group of Zitharans waited there, each holding objects Ethan did not recognize: thin, translucent threads, glowing orbs, and delicate crystals that seemed to hum in the air. "You must participate in the bonding rituals," the elder explained. "These rituals are how we strengthen trust and connection. They are essential for unity. Watch closely, then follow." Ethan swallowed nervously. He had seen the gestures during the main ceremony, but the rituals here seemed more complicated. One Zitharan began weaving a thread of light around their arms, twisting it into intricate patterns in the air. Another touched the glowing pools, and the energy surged up, wrapping around their body like a soft embrace. You want me to do that?" Ethan asked, pointing at the threads. "Yes," the elder said. "Your touch completes the bond. Do not worry about mistakes. Be respectful, attentive, and sincere." Ethan nodded slowly and took a deep breath. He stepped forward, trying to imitate the motions of the Zitharans around him. His first attempt was clumsy. The threads refused to respond properly, floating awkwardly in the air. He stumbled slightly, earning a soft, melodic chuckle from one of the observers. "Do not fear," the elder said. "The energy responds to intention, not perfection." Ethan concentrated, closing his eyes for a moment. He focused on respect, curiosity, and calmness, the qualities that had guided him through the first part of the ceremony. Slowly, the thread responded. It twisted gracefully around his fingers, extending outward in delicate patterns. A wave of warmth spread through him. The Zitharans around him nodded approvingly. As the rituals continued, Ethan began to realize just how different their culture was. Their bonding dances were not about showmanship, they were a form of communication. Every motion, every pulse of light, every sound carried meaning. Mistakes could lead to misunderstanding, but sincerity bridged any gap. One Zitharan floated closer, their skin shimmering in shades of gold and green. "You understand more than most humans," they said softly. "But there is one challenge you have not yet faced. You must respond to our emotions directly. Not only through action." Ethan's heart sank. Respond to emotions directly? How could a human do that? He had no experience reading energy in this way, but before he could speak, the Zitharan extended a glowing orb toward him. As he touched it, a flood of feelings poured into his mind. Hope, fear, joy, sadness, and something he could not name. The sensations were strong, almost overwhelming, but Ethan clenched his fists, focused on calm, and allowed himself to absorb them without panic. "You are doing well," the Zitharan said. "You feel without losing yourself. That is rare among humans." Ethan nodded, still breathing heavily. He realized that the Zitharan's way of connecting was unlike anything he had ever known. They communicated through energy, emotion, and subtle gestures. Humans relied on words, but words were not enough here. He had to feel, understand, and respond, not just observe. Hours passed. The rituals grew more complex. Ethan had to weave multiple threads at once, match the energy patterns of different Zitharans, and maintain focus while their emotions flowed into him constantly. At first, it was exhausting. His human mind struggled to process everything at once. He made mistakes, causing threads to tangle or energy pulses to wobble. But every time, the Zitharans guided him patiently. They did not scold or criticize. They simply adjusted their energy and motion to help him find the correct flow. Through these challenges, Ethan began to notice something remarkable. Humans were adaptable. He had no natural ability to manipulate energy like the Zitharans, but he could learn patterns, recognize intent, and apply logic to balance the chaos. Slowly, the threads of energy responded to him more smoothly. The glowing orbs pulsed in harmony with his heartbeat, and for the first time, he began to feel not just like a participant, but a true part of their culture. Yet even as he improved, doubts crept into his mind. Why had humans been chosen for this role? Surely other species could handle the energy better. Could one human really carry the responsibility of being the groom to all these beings? The elder seemed to sense his hesitation. "Do not doubt," the elder said gently. "Humans are unique. You see with curiosity, act with courage, and connect with sincerity. These qualities are rare and valuable. That is why you are here." Ethan took a deep breath and nodded. He had survived challenges before, research missions, dangerous environments, even first contact situations. But this was different. This was not about observation or survival. This was about trust, empathy, and connection. And somehow, humans had an advantage. As the day progressed, Ethan noticed something else. Some Zitharans began to approach him more personally. They shared small stories through their energy, showing him memories of their clans, their struggles, and their hopes for the future. Ethan listened carefully, responding with gentle gestures, soft touches, and nods. Each interaction strengthened the bond between them, weaving him more tightly into their society. One particular Zitharan, with skin that shifted between blue and silver, floated close to him. Their multiple arms moved in patterns that pulsed with emotion. "Ethan," they said softly, "you are more than you realize. Not only do you carry our trust, but you carry hope. Your understanding is bridging worlds." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride and humility. He had never thought of humans as particularly special in the vast universe. But here, in the heart of Zithera 9, he realized that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or strength. It was connection. Humans could adapt, empathize, and learn. And in doing so, they could form bonds that no other species could. By the evening, the chamber was quiet. The glowing threads had settled into a lattice of energy, weaving Ethan into the center. He was tired, his body aching from the constant focus and movement, but he also felt an incredible sense of accomplishment. The Zitherans around him nodded and smiled, acknowledging his efforts. The elder approached one last time, their eyes glowing softly. You have faced the cultural challenges with courage and respect. You have shown patience, understanding, and adaptability. These are the qualities of one who can unite clans and bring harmony. Remember, Ethan, humans are not defined by their strength alone, but by their ability to connect and create trust. Ethan bowed slightly, exhausted but grateful. He had begun the ceremony thinking he was just a guest. Now he understood that his presence carried weight, responsibility, and potential. And though the next parts of the celebration remained uncertain, he knew one thing clearly. He had already earned the Zitherans' trust, and with it, a place in their culture that no human had ever held. As he rested, floating slightly above the platform in a soft field of energy, Ethan allowed himself to reflect. This was only the beginning. He would face more challenges, more rituals, and more surprises. But he also realized something important. Humanity had a role to play in the universe, not as conquerors or observers, but as connectors, unifiers, and bridge builders. And with that thought, Ethan closed his eyes, letting the energy of Zithera 9 flow through him, ready for whatever came next. Ethan Cade woke to the soft glow of Zithera 9's morning light filtering through the translucent walls of the ceremonial hall. His body ached from the previous day's rituals, but his mind buzzed with anticipation. He had survived the first stage of the ceremony, earned the respect of hundreds of Zitherans, and formed bonds that connected him to their clans. But today, the elder had promised, would be different. Today, he would need to use his human ingenuity in ways he had never imagined. The elder appeared at the edge of the glowing chamber, their multiple arms moving gracefully in the morning light. "Ethan," they said, voice melodic and calm, "today you will face challenges designed to test your understanding, adaptability, and creativity. You will find that the way of the human mind is unique, and it is what the clans need." Ethan swallowed. Challenges. He had survived rituals of energy and emotion, but now he had to innovate. The elder gestured to a series of intricate mechanisms floating above the chamber, floating rings, spinning crystals, and energy conduits that seemed to pulse with life. Each object shifted in a pattern that was difficult to follow, yet Ethan could sense that interacting with them correctly was vital to continuing the ceremony. A Zitheran with soft green skin floated beside him. "Observe first," they advised. "Do not act too quickly. Patterns emerge if you watch carefully. Humans have eyes that see connections others miss." Ethan nodded, studying the arrangement. At first glance, the mechanism seemed chaotic, but as he focused, he began to notice subtle sequences. Movements repeated, energy pulses followed a rhythm, and light beams interacted in predictable ways. He realized that this was not just a ritual, but a test, a puzzle designed to see if he could understand patterns and create solutions. Taking a deep breath, Ethan extended his hands. Using logic and careful observation, he began to interact with the objects. One spinning crystal responded to the gentle tilt of his wrist. A floating ring shifted when he traced a pattern through the air. Slowly, the mechanisms began to synchronize, forming a web of interconnected energy. Ethan's heart raced as he realized he was not only participating, he was solving the puzzle. The Zitherans around him observed quietly, their melodic hum filling the chamber like soft applause. Ethan smiled faintly. This was what humans did best: analyze, adapt, and innovate. His mind raced to find solutions where instinct alone would fail. He had no special powers like the Zitherans, but he had something just as valuable: creativity under pressure. Suddenly, a new challenge appeared. A set of energy conduits above him began shifting erratically, their pulses threatening to destabilize the synchronized system he had just completed. Ethan's first instinct was to panic, but he reminded himself of the Elder's words: patterns emerge if you watch carefully. He analyzed the shifting conduits, noticing that their movements followed a delayed rhythm. Using his hands, he nudged them into place, allowing the energy to flow smoothly once more. The Zitherans gasped softly, impressed. "You adapt quickly," one said. "Few can respond to sudden changes without fear." Ethan felt a surge of confidence. For the first time, he realized that being human gave him an advantage. Zitherans relied on intuition, energy, and precise movements. Humans relied on observation, reasoning, and improvisation. By combining these qualities, he could navigate even the most complex rituals. As the day progressed, more challenges appeared. Ethan had to coordinate multiple energy patterns simultaneously, translate gestures into actions, and anticipate movements of the Zitherans around him. Each task tested a different human strength: memory, logic, creativity, and empathy. Sometimes he failed, causing threads to tangle or pulses to misalign, but each time, the Zitherans guided him patiently, allowing him to correct mistakes and learn. At one point, a Zitharan floated toward him, carrying a large floating crystal that emitted pulses of color Ethan had never seen. "This is the test of intuition," they said. "You must guide the crystal through the maze of light without breaking the bonds of energy." Ethan's eyes widened. The crystal was enormous compared to his hands, and the maze of light shifted constantly. At first, he hesitated, unsure how to begin, but then he remembered the lessons of the past 2 days: observation first, then action. He studied the movements of the maze, noticing gaps in the energy flow, moments when the crystal could pass safely. Carefully, he lifted his hands, guiding the crystal along the path. It brushed against a few energy strands, causing a shimmer of dissonance, but Ethan adjusted quickly. Step by step, the crystal moved forward, weaving through the maze with precision. When it finally reached the end, the chamber erupted in a soft wave of light and melodic tones. The bonds of energy pulsed stronger than before, as if acknowledging Ethan's success. "You see?" the Elder said, voice filled with warmth. "Human ingenuity is more than thought. It is adaptation, courage, and persistence. You are not only a participant, you are a guide, a bridge between our ways and your own." Ethan smiled, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. He had begun the ceremony thinking he was merely a guest. Now he realized he had an essential role. Humans might not have natural energy powers like the Zitherans, but their minds could analyze, invent, and adapt in ways that complemented the aliens' strengths. But even as he celebrated his success, a new challenge appeared. The Elder gestured toward a group of Zitherans, each holding glowing orbs that pulsed with intense emotion. "Now comes the test of empathy," the Elder said. "You must respond to the feelings of all gathered here and maintain harmony. Failure could disrupt the balance you have helped create." Ethan's stomach tightened. He had faced patterns, puzzles, and energy conduits. But responding to emotions, hundreds of them at once, was something entirely new. The orbs floated toward him, each radiating a distinct emotional energy: joy, hope, anxiety, excitement, even a trace of fear. The feelings were strong, almost overwhelming, but Ethan focused on his core principle: respect and calmness. He allowed himself to feel each emotion, understanding it without being controlled by it. Slowly, he mirrored their feelings in gentle gestures, subtle movements of his hands, and shifts in posture. The energy responded, flowing in harmony. The chaotic emotions of the room began to synchronize, forming a delicate balance that pulsed around him. Ethan realized that human empathy was not just about understanding one individual, it was about connecting many individuals at once, recognizing patterns of emotion, and responding with clarity. The elder watched with satisfaction. "You are learning quickly. Humans are rare among the stars, not for strength or speed, but for their ability to connect through intellect, creativity, and emotion. These qualities are invaluable to the clans." By the end of the day, Ethan was exhausted, but he had proven something profound. Humans had a unique place in the universe. The Zitherans had their abilities, their energy patterns, and their rituals. But it was humanity's ingenuity that allowed them to solve complex problems, adapt to challenges, and build connections that even the most powerful alien could not. As the chamber emptied and the glowing energy softened, Ethan reflected on the day's events. He had faced complex rituals, sudden challenges, and the emotional energy of hundreds of beings. Yet he had not only survived, he had excelled. His human mind had provided solutions where instinct alone might have failed, and his empathy had strengthened bonds that would last long beyond the ceremony. The elder approached him one final time, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Rest, Ethan Cade. You have shown that humans are more than observers. You are creators, connectors, and problem solvers. Your ingenuity has strengthened the bonds between our species. Remember this lesson. Your mind is a bridge, your heart is the key, and your courage is the path forward." Ethan nodded, a mixture of fatigue and pride washing over him. He had entered the ceremony as a guest, unsure and hesitant. He was leaving the challenges of the day as a symbol of human ingenuity, capable of navigating complex rituals, understanding alien emotions, and connecting cultures in ways that only a human could. As he floated gently above the platform, bathed in the soft glow of Zithra 9's energy, Ethan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The day had tested him in ways he could not have imagined, but it had also revealed something essential. Humanity had strengths that the universe needed, not through force or power, but through intelligence, creativity, and compassion. And for the first time, Ethan felt not just awe, but confidence. The final stages of the ceremony awaited, and he was ready. Humans had a role to play in the stars, and he was determined to prove that the human way, the way of ingenuity, empathy, and courage, could make a difference across worlds. As the Zitherans' melodic voices echoed softly through the chamber, Ethan prepared himself for the next challenge, knowing that his actions would shape not only the bonds of the clans, but the future of human-alien cooperation across the galaxy. The chamber glowed with soft light as Ethan Cade floated at the center, feeling the gentle hum of Zithra 9's energy beneath him. After days of rituals, ceremonies, and tests, he had learned to navigate the strange and beautiful culture of the Zitherans. He had witnessed their artistry, felt their emotions, and solved the complex puzzles they had presented. But now, the final stage of the celebration awaited, the moment when all bonds would be solidified, and the true meaning of his role would become clear. The elder appeared, their glowing patterns shimmering brighter than usual. "Ethan Cade," they said, their voice melodic yet firm, "you have proven your courage, your ingenuity, and your empathy. You have embraced our customs and adapted your human mind to our ways. Now comes the final bond, the unification of the clans. Your actions will guide our people and solidify the connection between our worlds." Ethan's heart raced. He had survived challenges he had never imagined, but the weight of responsibility pressed upon him. The earlier parts of the ceremony had tested his understanding, creativity, and adaptability, but this moment would test his ability to lead, inspire, and unify. Before him, hundreds of Zitherans gathered, forming a circle that radiated vibrant light. Each carried an object that pulsed with its own energy, representing their clan's history, hopes, and dreams. Ethan could feel the weight of their expectations, but he also sensed their trust. They had chosen him not as a ruler, but as a connector, a symbol of unity. The elder guided him to a central platform, elevated slightly above the rest. "Stand at the center," the elder instructed. "Extend your hands and allow the bonds to flow through you. Your humanity will provide the stability we need." Ethan hesitated, glancing around. He felt the energy of the Zitherans pulsing toward him, overwhelming in its intensity, yet warm and welcoming. He took a deep breath, recalling everything he had learned over the past days: observation, patience, respect, empathy, and ingenuity. Slowly, he extended his hands, allowing the energy to flow through him. The response was immediate. The threads of light and pulses of energy wrapped around him, connecting him to every Zitheran present. For a moment, Ethan felt the full scope of their emotions, memories, and hopes, all flowing into him simultaneously. It was dizzying, yet invigorating. He realized that this was not just a ritual. It was a test of human resilience, focus, and heart. He remembered the lessons of the previous days. Each time he had felt overwhelmed, he had used observation, logic, and empathy to respond. Now, with hundreds of streams of energy converging on him, he relied on the same principles. He focused on calmness, clarity, and connection, allowing the energy to move freely without resistance. A Zitheran with shimmering silver skin floated closer. "You are doing well," they said. "Do not resist. Let your humanity guide the bonds, and all will be harmonious." Ethan nodded, his mind steadying. He felt the energy respond to his intention, flowing in perfect rhythm. The pulses of light aligned, creating a luminous web that connected every Zitheran in the chamber. The elders' voices rose in harmonious tones, echoing through the platform and reinforcing the unity of the gathering. As the energy stabilized, Ethan noticed something remarkable. The Zitherans were no longer separate individuals. They moved, thought, and pulsed as one. Their differences, their colors, their limbs, their abilities, merged into a single harmonious force. And at the center of it all, Ethan realized, was humanity itself. His ability to adapt, to reason, and to empathize had allowed this unity to form. Humans had bridged gaps that had existed for centuries. A gentle warmth spread through him, and for the first time, Ethan felt the true meaning of the prophecy. It was not about power, control, or dominance. It was about connection, understanding, and cooperation. Humans, with all their flaws and limitations, had a gift the universe needed: the ability to create harmony through intelligence, creativity, and heart. The elder floated closer, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have fulfilled the role you were chosen for. The clans are united, and the bonds will endure. You have proven that humans are more than observers. You are connectors, creators, and partners. Your courage and wisdom will be remembered for generations." Ethan felt a surge of pride and humility. He had entered the ceremony as a visitor, unsure and hesitant. Now he was a central figure in a historic event, one that would shape the future of Zithera 9 and its relationship with humanity. As the ceremony concluded, the Zitherans released their energy into the air, creating a magnificent display of light and color. Patterns of glowing symbols and flowing streams of energy danced across the chamber, illuminating the faces of every attendee. Ethan watched in awe, realizing that this was not just a celebration of unity. It was a celebration of what humans and Zitherans could achieve together. Several Zitherans approached him individually, offering gestures of gratitude and respect. One presented a small crystal that pulsed with soft light. Take this as a token of our trust, they said. You have shown us that humans can bring balance and hope. Another extended a delicate strand of energy, weaving it gently around his wrist. This bond is unbreakable, they said. It symbolizes the connection between our species and yours. Ethan accepted each gift with a mixture of reverence and amazement. He had never imagined that a human could play such a vital role in an alien culture, let alone unite an entire planet through empathy, ingenuity, and courage. The elder raised their arms one final time, and the chamber fell silent, bathed in the glow of the combined energies. Let this day be remembered, they intoned, as the day when a human brought harmony to Zithera 9. Let it be known that courage, creativity, and heart can bridge worlds, and that humans are worthy partners among the stars. Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced fear, confusion, and overwhelming challenges, but he had persevered. He had adapted to alien customs, solved intricate puzzles, and connected with emotions beyond human understanding. And in doing so, he had proven something essential. Humanity had a place in the universe. Not as conquerors or outsiders, but as creators of harmony and unity. As the Zitherans began to disperse, Ethan floated gently toward the edge of the platform, watching the vibrant energy settle into a calm glow. The bonds he had helped forge would endure, linking humans and Zitherans in a partnership that would last for generations. He felt a sense of hope and excitement for the future, both for himself and for his species. One Zitheran approached him and smiled, their eyes glowing softly. Ethan Cade, you have exceeded our expectations. You have shown that humans are not only capable of understanding, but of leading with wisdom and heart. We welcome your people as allies, friends, and partners. Ethan nodded, feeling the truth of their words. Thank you, he said softly. I hope humanity can live up to the trust you've placed in us. I promise we will do our best. The elder touched his shoulder gently. Your promise is enough. Actions will follow naturally. You have already set the path for future generations. Remember this day, Ethan Cade, and the bonds you have forged will guide your people as well as ours. As he prepared to leave the ceremonial hall, Ethan looked back at the glowing Zitherans, feeling a profound sense of connection. He had entered their world as a stranger, uncertain and nervous. He was leaving as a symbol of unity, carrying the hopes and trust of an entire planet. Humanity had been tested, and in its place, it had shown courage, ingenuity, and heart. For the first time in his life, Ethan understood the true power of being human. It was not in strength, speed, or technology. It was in the mind that could analyze, the heart that could feel, and the spirit that could connect. These were qualities that could bridge worlds, unite species, and create harmony across the stars. As he floated gently above the platform, the lights of Zithera 9 reflecting in his eyes, Ethan made a silent vow. He would honor the trust placed in him. He would carry the lessons of this ceremony back to Earth, and he would ensure that humanity's role in the universe was defined not by fear or dominance, but by courage, wisdom, and the power to connect. The Zitherans' voices rose once more, a soft melody that resonated through the chamber and into Ethan's very being. He closed his eyes, letting the energy wash over him one last time, and felt a deep sense of peace. This was the moment he had been preparing for, the moment he would remember for the rest of his life. A human had attended an alien wedding, faced impossible challenges, and emerged not only unscathed, but celebrated, trusted, and honored by an entire civilization. And in that moment, Ethan Cade realized that humans were capable of greatness, not just on Earth, but among the stars. He had become more than a visitor, more than a guest. He had become a bridge, a connector, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve when courage, ingenuity, and heart guided their actions. As the light of Zithera 9 bathed the chamber, Ethan allowed himself a rare smile. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had proven one undeniable truth. Humans belonged in the galaxy, and their story was just beginning.